Welcome, Darren. Thank you for joining us today. So, Darren is a firefighter and is going to answer some questions regarding fire safety in the home. Our clients are elderly clients who live at home and who often do things that might be unsafe, and so we're really keen to hear how we can keep them safe. For example, is it safe for clients to dry clothes on their heaters in the wintertime?
No, it's definitely a no-no. Whilst the portable heaters are safe to use, they need to be used correctly. The way that they're designed, with the hot air coming out, there needs to be a flow of air around them. If people are putting clothes over the top of them, they will overheat and potentially cause clothes to catch fire. So,
is it safe to dry clothes on radiators that are mounted to the wall?
That is much safer. I would probably encourage people to try and use airers rather than radiators, just because it's stopping the flow of air around the home. It leads to, whilst it's not a fire safety issue, but it leads to more moisture in the air, which leads to more condensation. Mold can be created faster when clothes are drying too quickly. So on an airer is probably the safest and best practical use for drying clothes.
So with portable heaters, I understand that there has to be an airflow around them for them to be safe. Is it okay to use a portable heater that is 1 meter away from furniture? Is it safe to use them at night?
No, definitely not left on overnight, and I wouldn't advise using having any flammable material within 1 meter of the heaters, including the homeowner, because they could get a nasty burn from them if they're too close for too long a time. Then that's potential for burns, but for the material to burn. So any flammable material needs to be at least 1 meter away for any portable heater.
And the safety at night is because they can fall asleep and something can happen?
Yeah, I just think it's there are better ways to practically keep people warmer, like electric blankets, rather than having portable heaters on left overnight. I think it's an unnecessary caution.
Okay. And are electric blankets safe then?
Yes, provided they're regularly tested and stored correctly. They need to be, when they're stored, just gently rolled up and not folded over too tightly and packed away too tightly, because that can damage the filaments inside. And they need to be regularly tested depending on how old they are.
One of the things that we see in clients' homes is extension cords or overloaded sockets. Can you give us advice on these things?
Yeah, so overloaded sockets generally very dangerous. We see and we go to a lot of fires that are caused from overloading. So extension leads are great as long as they're used properly. Some of our older members of the public that we've been to have the older square adapters, block adapters, which, whilst they might be tested safe, we try and encourage people not to use them, because they can, if you pull out a socket from a block adapter, it can pull the socket, or pull the plug, sorry, the adapter away from the plug, which can cause something called arcing, which causes a spark, and that can lead to a fire. So we tell people to use the flat extension beds, if you like. So one plug is in the socket, and then the lead comes off that, and they can be either safely switched off. But again, with those extensions, as long as people aren't using extension into another extension cable, so extending one to another, because that's going to overload them in the same process.
Absolutely. What about fire alarms? How many fire alarms should a home have? Where should they be located, and how often should they be tested?
So we would encourage people to have a smoke alarm per level, so ground floor and then first floor, and if you're in a larger home and you have a second floor, then one at the top of the building, and then on the floors coming down. They need to be situated in the middle of the room. So a smoke alarm needs to be in communal areas, mainly hallways, the top of stairs. Don't want to have one in the kitchen because it's going to go off all the time. If you were going to get fire safety for your kitchen, you need something called it's a heat detector, so it goes off at a certain temperature. We encourage people to test them once a week. A lot of the new modern day ones have a battery life, a sealed battery, so the battery can't be taken out, and that lasts for 10 years. So I would encourage everyone to obviously have a smoke alarm. You can get those fitted from the London Fire Brigade. There's a free phone number that you can call. You guys might well provide that. So yeah, no excuse not to have a smoke alarm.
Is it realistic to test them every week?
No. Yeah, I might be guilty of not testing mine weekly, but if it's something that you do once a week, trying to put that into your routine. Testing them, just to mention, testing them. The new ones, the modern day, have got a larger central button in the middle that needs to be pressed. Wouldn't encourage anyone to get on chairs or up step ladders. Try and use a broom handle or an umbrella to reach the button.
What about carbon monoxide detectors? When are they necessary, and how often should they be tested?
So carbon monoxide, I would probably say that I would encourage everyone to have a carbon monoxide alarm, particularly if you think that your boiler is of a certain age. The best place for them is in and around where the boiler is situated in the home, and they also can be tested once a week.
Are there fire alarms that are specialist devices? For example, if someone is hard of hearing, do you have vibrating alarms? Yep,
so again, these can be provided by London Fire Brigade, or people can go out and purchase them themselves. We have strobe lighting units that can be placed in people's homes that will signify people hard of hearing. They'll give you a clear indication that the smoke alarm's gone off, and they also have a vibrating pad that goes under the pillow at night time, and a strobe lighting unit next to your bed to give you as much warning as possible.
Is it feasible to let the fire brigade know if there are some vulnerable people in the home that have limited mobility, for example, that would not be able to escape their bedroom if the fire alarm went off and if there was a fire in the property? Is it worth letting the fire brigade know that there are vulnerable people?
Yeah, certainly. I think the best way to do that is through our home fire risk assessments that we do throughout London. Again, it's all part of fitting a smoke alarm for vulnerable people that need it, and we will go through a checklist with the individual, going through normal common sense safety tips, and make a note that if there are mobility issues, if they're hard of hearing, if there's anything that we need to be aware of, we'll make a note of that, and then it goes on our database, so that we know if we get called out there what to expect.
Sometimes clients might want to use oil to fry things in the home, or they might, for example, have cognitive impairments that make cooking unsafe. Do you have any cooking tips for clients?
Yeah, sure. I think the first and most obvious one is try and never leave cooking unattended, whether it's oil that you're using or just hot water. Try not to leave that ever unattended, to leave the room, phone calls or answering the door, turn it off, move it to the side, and then go and do what you need to do. It's a bit of housekeeping, making sure that your kitchen or around the stove area is clear of any flammable material, not leaving tea towels on the top of a grill to dry, or by the side of the stove. Keeping handles out of the way if you're cooking, because they can quite easily be knocked by, I don't know, they might have small children coming round, or it can just be knocked, by ourselves. So it's just simple techniques in the kitchen. Cooking late at night, not a good idea. If you're feeling tired, if you're on medication, you might have had a drink. So it's just being aware of those things and being safe at all times.
For some of our clients who might be living alone still at home, but also have cognitive impairments, we want to help them stay independent as possible, and they might have carers coming to visit them who might support them with cooking. Is it possible to get an electrician to come and to install a lock so that the stove doesn't stay on or cannot be switched on by a client who's vulnerable?
From that point of view, yeah, you can, electricians can come out and put a lock on the stove so that those individuals that might have a cognitive impairment don't accidentally turn on the cooking. So it's good advice to speak to somebody.
Can you recommend bedtime routines that would keep our clients safe in the home?
Yeah, so we would encourage everyone to have a bedtime routine, and just a number of things, common sense things, turning things off that don't need to be left on, TVs, DVD players, radios, any of those things that are not designed to stay on, like your fridge or fridge freezer, anything else, going around, just switching things off at the plug. Shutting doors. If there was ever a fire, then it slows down the spread of smoke and the fire. So having doors to living quarters closed. Making sure there's no candles, any candle that you're using, making sure you blow those out before going to bed. Cigarettes, any smokers, making sure that cigarettes are extinguished, maybe with water, ashtrays washed out, so that they're not left in bins or in the ashtrays. And just being aware, maybe having your mobile phone with you at night time. So if you are in your home and you're in your room, then you've got means of raising the alarm straight away with your phone.
Is it safe to charge your mobile phone at night or other devices?
We would advise people that if they are charging tablets, phones, laptops, things like that, that they're using the correct chargers from the correct manufacturers or brands, and not, if you're just trying to go for a cheaper option down the market, from independent shops, then we have had issues before where they have caused fires. People try not to leave them at all charging overnight, but if you have to, on a non-flammable material, not covered with pillows or clothing, because they are emitting heat and they could potentially cause a fire.
What's your recommendation in terms of planning escape routes in the home?
So, in the event of a fire, if somebody was at home and they woke up by their smoke alarm, obviously the first thing to do is to try and get out of the property. If they were, if it was their escape route needs to be clear, and if it's clear and they can make their way out, then that's ideally what we would advise them to do. If for a reason that they were trapped within their bedroom, shutting the door, putting something at the bottom of the door to stop any smoke coming through, going to a window, opening the window to get fresh air in, making the call to us, the 999 call, and if those bedrooms I wouldn't encourage anyone to start climbing out of windows, putting, even if it's just a a small drop, even if it may be on the first floor and people have got mobility issues, we'll be within anywhere in London within 5 to 8 minutes, and we can get people out safely. If you're having to make your way out to an exit, so that might be to your front door or back door, we would encourage people to try and leave doors that have keys, the keys close by. In a certain situation, in a fire situation, can be very, very disorientating. Even in your own home, any little bit of smoke, any bit of panic, you need to know where those keys are to get out. So whilst there might be there's a security issue leaving the key in the door, having the key at hand and easily accessible is the most important thing.
Should every home have a fire extinguisher or a fire blanket?
So advice on fire extinguishers and blankets has changed a little bit over the years. A lot of people think that they need them. We don't encourage people to have them at home, simply because some people aren't trained to use them, and we've had cases where people are wasting time trying to get a fire blanket out or extinguisher working, and injure themselves throwing the blanket on. For example, if it was like an oil fire in the kitchen, people trying to throw a blanket on something could knock the pan on the floor, cause the fire to spread, injure themselves. So our advice now is really, if there's a fire in the kitchen and you think you want to deal with it, don't waste any time. Get out the door, shut the kitchen door, the room you're in, and make your way out and call us.
So can you share the phone number to ring if anyone would like to have the London Fire Brigade come over and do a home risk assessment?
Yeah, sure. So it's 0800 028 4428, and that will get you through to our fire safety team, and they'll organise the appointment with you for a time that's suitable for you. If people have carers, then it can be done when either a carer or a member of the person's family is at home.
Great. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. It's been really useful.
Good. I'm glad I could help.